Hi, everyone. It's Paul Ward here, and welcome to another 15 minutes. I'm excited today. We've got a special guest, Steve Vanderzwaag with Zwaag Termite Control. Steve, welcome
Hello.
to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for that. I appreciate you having me.
Absolutely. So you've been somebody that I've wanted to talk to for a while now. You've been in the, quote unquote termite business for a long time. And I've, in my 20 years of real estate, I've used probably every company out there. And now you're my go-to company. And this, of course, is not a commercial, but I just wanted to kind of spend some time talking to you about your industry. And of course, also realize that folks are hurting right now, and so maybe there's some, cost saving measures that we can discuss just to, share some good advice for folks out there. So
Absolutely.
tell us first, how did you start the company?
Well, I was working in this industry back in the late '90s. Kind of fell into it. I was a dishwasher when I was 15, and saw the pest control guy came by, and it ended up just kind of got into it that way, and started a company after working for other companies for several years, and that's really just how it happened. But we started this company back in 1998.
Okay, so you've been at it a while.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Very cool.
I think I've estimated I've probably crawled well over 15,000 crawl spaces and attics in my career. So I've seen a few things.
You've seen a lot. A lot of rat droppings, I'm sure.
All sorts of stories.
Yeah. So as I mentioned, times are challenging right now, and I'm sure folks are kind of watching their pennies. But of course, for most folks, their home is their most valuable asset, and people are looking to save money wherever they can, but they need to protect that asset. And termites don't really care, right, what your financial situation is. So what would be kind of some advice that you could give folks where they could protect their property without breaking the bank, so to speak?
Well, I think what I've seen, being that we've always focused on real estate, and termite control really entails um, treating the termites and the damage repair. So what I've really watched over the years is the ongoing care of the home. And I've seen a few real estate cycles in the time that I've been in this company. So um, I've noticed that through times where it might be of kind of a down economy, people might tend to put things off. And then what happens with structure, strictly for our industry, is you'll find a lot more dry rot a couple years after a down market, because people didn't do that painting, rain gutters, all of those maintenance things that really lead to the problems. So um, I would say at this stage right now, just take a look around, especially the rain we've been having. Take a
Mhm.
look around your house when it's raining, and see if there's a wet wall. See
Right.
if your rain gutters are draining properly. See
Hmm.
if you're seeing any moisture coming down from, let's say, behind the fascia, where that you might need some attention to the roof, drainage, um, all the flow of the water, to try to keep all of that wood as dry as possible. And if you see areas that are getting wet, you want to at least focus on those areas to get them sealed up. So either paint specifically that area, or paint the house if you can, or if it's something that needs to be done. But really, that long-term maintenance for dry rot is critical, because I say we probably find as much damage from fungus damage and dry rot than we do as termites. There's not much you can do to keep termites out. They will fly into your house, or maybe come up through the foundation. So when they make their way in, it's very hard to prevent termites from entering your house. It's an insect. They'll fly in any little crack. So I wouldn't do as much preventative for termites as much as trying to keep it sealed up for dry rot, and that type of damage.
It's interesting that you mentioned that, because we've had a record amount of rain this year. I think it's just absolutely unprecedented. And my rain gutters were overflowing, and water was streaming over the eaves, and down the stucco and down the windows, and got a handyman out there to clean out the rain gutters between storms. So
Yeah.
that's a great point that you make about wood rot, being causing just as much damage as termites.
Especially when the rain gets stuck in the rain gutter, you might not see it from below,
Right.
but it might be just seeping through the nail hole on the rain gutter and penetrating into the fascia for weeks, maybe even longer, and causing a moisture condition.
Right. That's a great point. Now, in regards to real estate transactions, I mean, most of the termite work, would you say, happens when a seller is selling and a buyer is buying? Is that typically when most tenting takes place?
I would say so, especially tenting, because a lot of at that time the house might be vacant if it needs to be fumigated. We do strive to do localized treatments when we can. We treat where the colony is. So if there's something that's accessible enough that we could specifically locally treat that area, we'll always try to do that. And if it gets to the point where the termites are inside the walls, inside locations where we can't get to and it's inaccessible, then most of the time through the sale process, they'll do those repairs.
Mhm.
I've seen a lot of negotiations through the years. It depends on what type of market it is, who might end up paying for the work or for the damage repair if there's damage repair to be done. And what I always advise somebody who might be selling their home is have your inspection done up front, so at least you know what you're dealing with. Find
Yes.
a reputable company that you trust, and that come out and do an inspection for you. And over here, so but we would love to do that inspection for you, and at least going into the transaction whether you have termites or dry rot or any other moisture conditions that we can address before you get into a negotiation. And you may speak to this also. Once the contract is signed, and if you say that you're going to provide a clearance for termite work, you're replacing what's on the house at that time. So if
Yes.
you, let's say, you have a patio cover that is just an eyesore
Hmm.
that we can remove before we even do the inspection, or we'll do the inspection, but before you actually list the house, and just get rid of that patio cover that's going to be problematic, then it leaves no room for negotiation. And on another idea is, um, if you have, let's say, these big, giant, full-size timbers, and you wanted to replace it with more of a price point lumber selection because of the cost of lumber these days,
Right.
that might save you the lumber itself. A lot of times, the patio covers could be more than half of the bid. So we can use a different product and help you that way.
You
There's
know,
other
I
things like the siding on the house.
mm,
Sometimes it's only the bottom few inches of the siding that need to be replaced. And sometimes the buyer might come in, and if you are let's say, or a potential buyer listening to this, these types of negotiations happen every time. You may choose to replace just the bottom section of the siding if it's nice siding otherwise. And let's say with the rain gutter, or the sprinklers were just hitting the bottom few inches, we can cut out and waterproof and install a new trim piece to save all that nice siding above it, rather
mhm.
than replacing the whole wall and getting a whole new surface, which is going to cost you 5 times as much. So there's definitely things we can do to to do a quality repair, a professional repair. And a lot of times something like that might actually be a better fix, because you install a new base trim. Let's say use a composite material, so it will prevent that condition from coming back. So if we're not
Hmm.
cutting corners, we're actually doing something that might be a better fix in the end.
You raised some great points, and I always tell my sellers, especially, a buyer cannot fall in love with something that they never saw, right? So you mentioned the patio cover, and when that patio cover, which is riddled with wood rot, is removed, if you don't have a buyer in place, if a buyer hasn't seen the home yet, they haven't written an offer has not been accepted, just simply remove the patio cover. Don't bother replacing it. Now, it might, as a seller, it's going to look a little odd for a week or two because you're used to living with that patio cover, but the buyer never saw it, right? But once a buyer comes along and you have not done that termite inspection before you listed, and now all of a sudden it's a part of the negotiation, and the buyer is expecting the house to be put back exactly as when they submitted their offer, all of a sudden that patio cover becomes the most important part of the house, right? Because that buyer wants that patio cover fully replaced. So the cost of taking it down could be in the hundreds of dollars. The cost of replacing it would be in the several $1,000s. So I think you raise a really good point there with some ideas for cost saving measures.
Well, that there could be the possibility of the patio cover being a huge focal point for the house, and you might actually sell the house for more because the patio cover is such a unique thing. So we might be able to go in there, and we always try to salvage everything that's good wood and rebuild it with the same material, the same dimension, the same texture, so it blends in. But you may want to replace that patio cover and get it in perfect shape. So when you list the house, somebody's going to walk out, rather than seeing a dingy old patio cover, maybe they'll come out and see this beautifully rebuilt patio cover. Well, they would never know the difference because it'll just look brand new, right. And that might be a selling point. So
right.
I say that visible damage is a huge consideration for somebody coming up to potentially buy the house. Visible damage is scary. You look at that and you say, well, what if that's there, what's inside? And of course, we do our investigations and do an examinations of the attics and everything that we possibly can on the interior. But it's definitely off-putting sometimes if somebody sees that and you might scare somebody away, where it might be something that's a very, very easy fix. It might just be the trim, that it's an easy fix, but somebody might walk up and get concerned that there's something else behind it, which rightly so, but I that's another reason to maybe do these things up front.
Sure.
Have the house in good shape so that you avoid those conversations.
Yep. Steve Vanderzwaag of Zwaag Termite Control has so much to share to protect homeowners from termites and pests. Stay tuned for next week when Steve discusses the pros and cons of fumigation versus heat treatment, why he believes so strongly in hiring quality journeymen, and the hidden areas no one thinks to look for termites. Don't forget to hit subscribe and never miss an episode.